Benn has his hearing, he's found to be guilty. Will you still promote him?
Well, no, because he'll be banned. So, there is a chance that he will be found guilty, because unfortunately, as an athlete, you are responsible for the results of your test. Whether there's been a contamination, you have to prove that contamination. Again, the levels, the science, and this is not me, this is the scientists who are saying, we believe that could be a contamination. It doesn't make sense. That doesn't wash, right? When you're in a court of law, it's like, oh, this is a contamination. Oh, right, okay, don't worry about it. If it was, you're very unlucky. But if you can't prove that contamination, even though it doesn't make sense, and even though what does make sense is that they can prove that actually you weren't using this drug as a physical benefit because of the levels inside you, you still tested positive, mate. And unfortunately, you're going to have to suffer a ban. Now, that ban could be 3 months, 6 months, a year. What I will say is, if he is banned, of course, we will acknowledge that ban, and when he's free to fight again, of course, he would resume his career.
Could he not get a licence elsewhere?
He could get a licence now. It's not good enough. Like, he could go, I could have done this fight firstly, I could have done this fight with a different commission on the night. Secondly, I could have done this fight in many different places around the world. You can't do it. You've seen the feedback, you've seen the response. He has to clear his name, or he has to have his case heard. So what we are not going to do, and what we won't accept anyway, is just to go and get another licence and put this fight on in December. No. Let's have the process, go through the legal process of Conor Benn, and then we see what the result is.
Eddie, is there any frustrations where you see the media are coming out making their own assumptions when you always talk about you wanting to clear his name? Is there any frustrations when the media are putting things out that could be very far from the truth?
It's just expected. Look, I think people are doing their job at the end of the day. And what is frustrating is that people aren't giving him any chance to go through this process. Like, let him have his trial. When he comes in front of you guys next week or whenever that is, and you read the interviews tomorrow and you see him on across national media, see what you think, right? Digest the facts and then make your decision. But it's unbelievable. Like, I told him, when this happened, I said, the first thing you've got to do is come off social media. This is, you've seen Conor Benn, he's quite an emotional guy. This will break anyone. Doesn't matter how strong you are. I said, come off social media immediately. And a week later, he said, how's the response been? And I said, do yourself a favour, stay off social media. Because it's outrageous that people won't want to give him any shot to explain himself. But he has to go through that process himself, and he has to get it right. And people say, well, how long is it going to be? It's like, you have to get the information. You have to go through the process. You have to make sure that everything you're about to fight for is covered off, and that's what he's been doing.
Eddie, how much pressure are you under from the zone? For obviously you missed out on 3 potential pay-per-view dates this year with the 2 AJ fights and this Eubank Benn situation. Are you under a lot of pressure now with obviously the lack of UK subscribers, according to reports?
No, the UK subscribers are fantastic. Especially I have to give credit to our man KSI. The numbers are incredible on DAZN. And again, leading up to Katie Taylor this weekend, Dillian White's back on November the 26th. You've got a big Josh Warrington fight. You've got Estrada Chocolatito. So no, look, it was a kick in the nuts, Eubank Benn falling through. We would have done huge numbers on DAZN. But I believe you'll see that fight next year.
And interesting, Andrew Tate coming to the zone.
Andrew Tate
is the third most Googled person on the web.
No, it's one for Miss Fitz, guys. One for Calla.
Do you believe Conor Benn's next fight will be Chris Eubank Jr.?
Yeah, I do. Look, firstly, the most important thing is that Conor Benn goes through a hearing and a process, because he has the opportunity to go and fight anywhere in the world right now. In my opinion, that's wrong. And we won't be a part of that happening until he's got an opportunity to clear his name. The Chris Eubank Jr. fight is a massive fight. It's probably, could be the biggest fight in boxing at the right time. But at this time, we have no idea whether Conor Benn is going to be found not guilty, get a 3-month ban, 6-month ban, a year ban, or whatever it could be. But until that process is undertook, we can't really look at him returning in the ring. And time passes very quickly. You're talking about, September, this failed test. So you go back over that period and say, okay, well, it started in September. When are you going to return back in the ring? I don't see him returning back to the ring, even best case scenario, till spring of next year at the earliest. But until he goes through that process, can't really think about a fight date. That's a process that he has to go through.
You mentioned on TalkSport, guilty until proven innocent. Mm-hmm. Do you believe he can truly become, to the fans in their mind, renew his name?
Well, I hope so, because again, I know I get stick when I say I believe he's innocent, but you have to understand I've seen a lot more than you guys have. I've sat with this guy dozens of occasions in the last couple of weeks with his family, with Tony Sims, with Nigel Benn, and whatever you think of me for thinking it, I believe him. To convince the public is going to be very difficult for him to do. We have the science to show that I truly believe this man could be innocent. So shouldn't we give him the opportunity to do that? Now, he needs to get out and get in front of you guys, which he's about to do. He's done a load of major newspaper interviews yesterday, which drop tomorrow. He's seen a number of major national broadcasters. I'm sure he'll get in front of you guys next week as well. And you can make your opinion. And I believe your opinion will change when you speak to him. But that's great. You know, I can't say, yeah, he's my mate, so he's innocent. We've got to see it, and it's got to be proven, and you've got to go through the process. And that's what he needs to do, because, you know, going back to us, we can't accept that he can't go through that process. Right now, he could go to multiple commissions in the States. He could go to the Middle East. He could go to Australia, go to Germany, apply for licenses, and be able to fight on the information that we have. But it's not going to wash. He has to be almost brought to trial before the public, let alone commissions, the public, because they won't accept just, oh, he's fine, he can go and box somewhere else. So you've either got to clear your name or undertake a ban. And that's which way it's either going to go.
Last of all, what did you make of the video of Dr. Usman that leaked onto it, openly admitting it's easy for boxers to drug?
Yeah, I think it's worrying. You know, I think that, you know, and again, Conor will talk to you about Dr. Usman. They've never been working together in a long-term relationship at all. But again, he'll talk about that. I think that there is cheating going on in boxing, you know, and that's why we spend millions to implement additional testing. You know,
Could it be better though?
What, the testing? Only if it's paid for, and promote. Not. I mean, I don't want to blow out and trouble it, because in this situation it's been a disaster for us. But we are choosing to implement that testing with the fighters. Conor Benn asked for additional testing for this fight. Chris Eubank Jr. wanted additional testing. They don't pay for it, we pay for it. Right, the board aren't going to pay for it, but if the board don't acknowledge VADA testing, which they don't, and now all of a sudden they want to, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, but they should, because UKAD test only really for the big UK fights frequently. You know, I think Conor Benn did, I don't know, 3 tests for that training camp with UKAD or whatever it was. That's good. But normally, you ask the guys up here who are fighting for European titles or fighting for Central Area titles, I bet they haven't even been tested. They'll be tested on fight night, which is not enough. So we try and make things safer by having additional testing. Fortunately, it's not really irrelevant in the whole situation. But if we're going to pay for the testing, the board should embrace that and say, oh, great, promoters are paying for the testing. But we will acknowledge that with UKAD. Not that's VADA, we don't listen to them. We only listen to UKAD, because that stance put us in a position where he'd passed all his UKAD tests. So on that basis, the board were going to allow the fight until they decided not to. Not saying it was a wrong decision, but they took 2 weeks to do it, and they put everybody in a very difficult position.
Would they have banned Conor if he didn't relinquish it?
I don't think so, but what he would have had to do is pay a misconduct charge that he thought was absolutely outrageous, and he didn't believe that on the basis of that he would in any way get a fair trial.
Why didn't you boxing fans? What was the misconduct charge?
I can't tell you. All I will tell you is, and I shouldn't even tell you this, it is not in relation to a doping ban. It was quite outrageous, but that's one for Conor Benn.
What was? Can you touch on the decision why he didn't decide to renew the licence?
Just because, for that reason. I mean, they wanted to put a misconduct ban on him, a charge on him for a lot of money, not in relation to a doping ban. And he just felt that he wouldn't get a fair hearing. He wanted to take it to a higher level and then return to that issue once he's cleared his name.
I don't know if you've commented on this, but it was reported in the Mail a few weeks ago that there's a probe into another failed drug test allegation. Is that true? Is there anything you can say?
Listen, I've read a lot of stuff, and that's going to come out from Conor Benn, everything around the testing, because there's a legal process undertaking at the moment. But there's a lot of stuff, true and false, and it'll all be unfolded by Conor Benn.